to our apparel and accessories, we are intentional about encouraging and helping kids and youth see that they can become anything they want to be. We are the only company who not only focuses on career exploration for kids and youth, but we also give them an opportunity to ask professionals about their careers every month during our free live virtual interviews as student co-hosts. If you are looking for a company that is dedicated to helping your child or student see that they can become anything they want to be, make sure you visit todayiwanttobe.com today. Calling all authors and publishers. Did you know Everything Authors has a free downloadable directory of platforms you can promote your book on? No longer will you have to search multiple places to market your book because you can find them here. Download your list today at everythingauthors.com/free-resources. That's everythingauthors.com/free-resources. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Authors to Know and Their Books to Read. I'm your host, Martinique Brown. I'm so excited that you guys have decided to tune into the show today. I'm really excited about our guest author today, who is DC Lyons. He actually wrote a book called With Worn Out Tools, Navigating the Rituals of Midlife. Now, if this is you guys' first time ever tuning into the show, make sure you go ahead and go to that description box. You are going to say, Martinique, can you stop being a broken record? I'm telling you, all of DC's information is listed in that description box. You can stay in contact with him via Instagram or Facebook, as well as you can also purchase his book. Now, right there next to the $ is actually the link to purchase his book from Amazon or Barnes and Noble. But like I said, this is an interactive show. So make sure that you post your questions and your comments onto just the comment field, and I will be able to relay those questions and comments to DC as well. Another thing is, if you're watching from any other page other than Martinique Y. Brown or also DC Lyons page, make sure you come on over to one of those two pages and I will be able to see your questions and comments. Thank you, DC, so much for being on the show today. How are you doing?
Excellent, Martinique. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So I do want to give a shout out to Pat and Taekwon, who is tuning into the show right now. Give us a virtual shout out. Let us know that you are in the house. Make sure you go ahead and share this video now. So DC, can you just tell the viewers just a little bit more about yourself and how long you've been a published author?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to the program. Very happy to be here. My name is DC Lyons, originally from Petersburg, Virginia. And right now I'm in the middle of the country in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
I was just there.
I know you were. I've been a published author since 2019, came out with my first book, A Day in the Life in a Skilled Nurse Facility. A young man trapped in a nursing home, relatively young, I guess, comparatively to the people that were in the nursing home with me. And then I published my second book, With Worn Out Tools, Navigating the Rituals of Midlife, in November of 2021. So just last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Scorpio season. That's when my birthday is. November is a good month. That's a good month, DC.
It's been a good month for me.
That's good. So now, can you actually walk us through your book, With Worn Out Tools?
Absolutely. With Worn Out Tools is based, the title is based on the poem, If. It's the fourth stanza in the poem, If. You know the poem, if you keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blame it on you. And then the fourth stanza, it goes, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. Mm-hmm. And the whole concept, Martinique, is about the idea as you get older, and you don't know anything about this because you're not old enough to know anything about this yet. But as you get older, you have these skills, this bag, right, of tools that you use to get through life. But midlife challenges all that. And the idea is that with you use these worn out tools, right, to make this comeback, whatever you face in midlife. Okay. And the book is really it's about a part of my life when I go through celebrate my 50th birthday party, but within 1 year, I go from celebrating to being a below-knee amputee. And navigating that whole process of going into our medical system and really learning who I am as this new fully disabled person.
Now, how did you become an amputee though?
It's a great question. A lifetime, Martinique, of bad habits.
Really?
Yeah, I wish I had a great story like a snake bite or a motorcycle accident. No great story. I was a diabetic. I used to weigh 465 pounds.
Okay.
I like to say that I had a weight problem. I couldn't wait to eat. and unfortunately, I ate so much, had the worst eating habits, and I had bad health. But fortunately, since that time, Martinique, I've lost 265, 270 pounds.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. but I didn't lose it in enough time to save my legs. So that I went through the process of losing weight, but then I was able to, I'm very happy I was able to lose that weight, but like I said, not enough time to save my legs. And I had to pay for that bad habit of, eating poorly and making bad decisions.
But let me ask you something. Okay, so I know that you went to the doctor regularly, and during that time, is your doctor telling you, hey, DC, you need to lose some weight or you're going to get diabetes?
Yeah.
What do you be thinking about when a healthcare professional says that to you? Because there's a phase with it. It's like
right.
Before you have diabetes, your doctor is saying, okay, look, DC, you got to do something about this or you're going to get diabetes. And I just want to go through the conversation of before you had diabetes, during diabetes, and you haven't had anything amputated yet. And then after, can you talk to us about that before part?
Absolutely. So I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was in my early 30s.
Okay.
So, you think about early 30s, and the doctor you start taking medication, you start doing things to make changes. However, and I was always on a diet, right? Always had a diet in my pocket, always starting a new program. It wasn't until after one Thanksgiving, about, I would say 15 years ago, where I started the process of becoming a vegetarian and started really honestly really started losing weight and lost a couple hundred pounds. I thought I was addressing my health issue, right? I thought I was addressing my health issue through it, but I was addressing my diet, but I wasn't addressing some of the other health issues as well, such as blood pressure and diabetes. So I was doing things better and making changes, but not enough time. Obviously it's better to start at some time to addressing your health issues, but I didn't start enough time. Well, I always say that I started enough time because had I not lost all that weight, when I had my first amputation, I wouldn't be able to get out of my bed, right? I wouldn't be able to move if I still was 465 pounds. So it was great that I did it, but it wasn't enough time to save my legs. So to answer your question directly, I was thinking with my best hope of making things better, but maybe we're not the best information to make things better.
And the thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about the weight that you lost, we think about, okay, somebody that is overweight, they will have diabetes and high blood pressure, but that's not only what causes it, but it's also about eating the wrong foods, because a skinny person can also be a diabetic and have high blood pressure as well with that. So how is your book just a journey of your process of, you finding out you have diabetes? You finding out that, or do you even start at the early, information stage?
Yeah.
You having diabetes and then amputee?
Now I start actually with the celebration, what most people in midlife go through, a 50th birthday celebration. Okay. It really starts with a celebration of life. I'm building this great career. I'm traveling the world. I run a vendor organization for a large company. So I'm traveling to the Philippines, and I take people through that journey of doing that, because life gets in the way of addressing some things. During that time, Martinique, I'm traveling the world. I'm on first class flights. I'm seeing the Philippines. I'm going to Costa Rica, and I take people through that journey. But then I take people through the incident. It really starts with the incident of me cutting my foot. So you think I've been a diabetic for 20 years. I have a cut on my foot and don't immediately get help for that. And thinking that I can solve it. I can kind of keep preparing my foot and do some things. So take people to that journey of finding out that one day I live into a emergency room in Oklahoma City, and I find out within a moment that I have to make a decision to save my life. They have to
amputate. Are you serious?
Yes. I find out that they have to amputate my left leg to save my life. And they ask me, do I want to do that? Or do I want to, try a lot of other solutions, a lot of the surgeries? And they tell me the seriousness of it. and I make a decision with my wife there after been hiding my bad leg from her all the time, as we do as men sometimes. I make a decision that I need to amputate my leg.
Okay. We're going to pause for a minute. Shout out to James, who's tuning into the show. If you're just not tuning in, you are watching Authors to Know and Their Books to Read. We're talking to DC Lyons, the author of With Worn Out Tools, Navigating the Rituals of Midlife. Make sure you go ahead and visit that description box, because that actually has his book purchasing link. You can purchase it from Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Right there next to the $ are the two links. Also, if you want to stay in contact and continue to follow DC, you can do that through his Instagram as well as his Facebook page. And those links are also listed in that description box as well. Okay, so it starts with a cut. How does a cut go to you making that decision? I don't understand that.
Well, when you're diabetic and been a diabetic as long as I have been, and as long as I was, a cut on your foot, if it doesn't heal properly, become infected, right? And and there's not a lot of muscle in the heel, so there's no way for the heel to the wound to heal. So that can lead to, and most diabetics do know that, right? Can lead to a very precarious situation. I was someone who thought that I was, thinking very positive, thinking I could find ways to heal myself, but I didn't get it looked at in time enough. And that's what led to that demise, right? A lifetime of bad habits, leading to a bad decision, leading to having to make that decision.
Okay, so we're in your book just about the part of having to make, also shout out to Ruben Alpha, who's tuning in. Ruben and James, make sure you go ahead and share this video so more people will know about DC and his book With Worn Out Tools. But okay, we're in the chapter where you're talking to us about, you have to make this immediate decision. Mm-hmm. So then are you also helping us to have a better understanding of your mindset during that time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of, for me, although I was in someone who was battling battling weight their whole life, I was in relatively good health. Not a lot of exposure to the medical industry, a lot of exposure to hospitals. I take people through that whole journey as well, because I know there are a lot of people who going through midlife, you're going to face something. I always like to say like this: in Hollywood, there are a million stories about coming of age, and they're all celebrated, Martin. Mm-hmm. But stories about midlife, they're not quite as celebrated, right? There's divorce, there's downsizing, there's job changes. I like to walk people through the process of what I'm thinking when I'm going through that process. The highs of building a career and traveling the world, but then the lows of facing health decisions as well. I walk people through that process. And not just I want you to think it's just a book about sickness and illness. I walk them through it with my sense of humor as well, right? I mean, I try to let people know what's going on in terms of sense of humor, because being a 50-year-old guy in a nursing home, there are a lot of funny things that happen as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So now when you talk to us about being in a nursing home, you also talk about that part in your book. I guess I'm just not understanding. Was there a certain amount of time you had to spend at the nursing home?
Absolutely. There is the process. When you first have an amputation, you go to somewhere to get physical therapy, so you can learn to care for yourself as a new amputee, learning to walk, and then I had my first amputation in February of 2017. Then I went through the process of getting my prosthetic leg, but because I was having kidney issues, my book talks about that. I gained about 90 pounds of fluid on my left-hand side. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I had to start dialysis in November of 2017. And that's the process when I went to a nursing home. I went to that to start dialysis and also to start physical therapy. And I walk people through the process of dialysis. As a matter of fact, Martinique, the first time I was dropped off in a nursing home, that was the lowest point. Well, one of the lowest points. That feeling of loneliness, being in a place that was well kept, but was a nursing home with the sounds and smells of a nursing home. Like I said, relatively younger patient.
Right.
Most of the people in the nursing home are in the more than 70s. Being somewhere there, how do you start your life? Right? How do you go from this high of celebrating, this high of living a certain way, of a certain lifestyle, to now, what do you do with your life?
So now, how long did you have to spend in the nursing home?
I was in a nursing home for a little over 6 weeks.
And that's one thing that because I actually used to work in a nursing home, and until my cousin was in a nursing home, and he was 40 something, because he fell off of a ladder. I honestly did not know younger individuals go into the nursing home, because we always think of nursing home as an elderly person that can no longer take care of themselves. Right. So how did it not become, because I would think that if I'm seeing these individuals who majority of them can no longer take care of themselves, then mentally that would affect you from getting better. How did you stop that from, how did you control yourself mentally so that you could say, hey, DC, you're going to get healed and you going to get out of here?
Yeah, Martinique, that's a great question. And you hit the nail right on the head. It mentally impacted me, but that fight started to come in me, that fight of not going quietly or gently into that good night. I really started to think about, I saw this gentleman who shared a suite with me, and he's a kind of guy who looked about my age. But, and he first was in the nursing home, Martinique, and he was rolling around in his wheelchair, getting around. But then he got put back in the hospital. So he left for the nursing home and went to the hospital. And when he came back, Martinique, he was not the same guy. He wasn't getting up, he wasn't going around. And I watched him really slowly decline. I was like, I'm not going out like that. I'm not going out like that. I have 5 grandkids. I want to see them grow. I want them to know me, who I am. At the time, I had 3 grandkids. I have 5 now. I want them to know me. I want them to be able to say that he actually lived a better life after his amputations than he did before. I really wanted to create the kind of narrative. So I started doing a couple of things. I started doing some training. I kind of kicked off my own business right in the nursing home some of that time, right? I just really decided that I could not go out like that, right? I couldn't. And I don't want to pretend like I'm some big monument of faith, right? I just decided I need to fight. And that's what I've been doing ever since, fighting back.
So now how did you, or did you ever have a period when you had to maybe talk to your friends and family and say, hey, don't feel sorry for me. I need you to be my support system?
That's a great question. During that time, I had the great support of a lot of family members, friends. My wife was a wonderful support to me as well. She's, my biggest support and my partner. I did have to. Writing actually helped a lot with the story. A Day in the Life in a Skilled Nurse Facility is 19 short stories, and I really started the whole process of writing those down to communicate to my friends and family members back home. I'm originally from Petersburg, Virginia, as I said before. I really wanted to share with them what was going on in my life. And I used that time to really, two things, a little bit of therapy for myself, but also to share with them what was going on with me. And as people started to read and say, boy, your stories are funny, you should write a book, I did, put it together in a book. And then with one of our tools, Navigating the Rituals of Midlife, is really just taking some of those, not those same stories, but that same time limit, and putting together more in a story about kind of in my life, a little bit of reflection of growing up, but also my career as well. Great therapy for me, and a lot of with one of our tools, Martinique, was written right in dialysis. A lot of times I had a needle in one arm and I'm typing with my other arm. It just was really the process of creating a story and moving it forward, in those 3 and 4 hour blocks of dialysis.
So you're doing that because I've actually talked to an author who, wrote her entire book on the phone. And I feel like individuals like that and you who has a needle in one arm and typing on the other hand, it's like nothing will stop you from accomplishing what you want to accomplish. Where does that come from though? You know, because you could have easily just said, you know, this is it, DC. I'm not, I'm just going to enjoy the remainder of my life and not share my story. Where did this fight come from?
A couple places, Martinique. One, I heard Delator McNeil. He's a speaker. He does motivational speaking. You may have heard him. He says, never underestimate the power of your story. And I started to think to myself, Martinique, God has already written the story. I just have to get better at telling the story. Mm-hmm. And as I started to write it, you get into a ritual, right? It really was the process of habit. I would read a little bit, write a little bit, read a little bit, write a little bit. Then I asked myself, did you advance the story? Did you really tell people how you felt? Did you tell people, were you clear about it? I used to be a pretty good singer, and I couldn't hit all the notes though. I would love to hit all the notes, but with writing, I found myself able to find a range in writing where I could hit all the notes, right? I could share those things. I could really ask myself, did you really share what you wanted people to know, what you wanted people to feel? So there was a certain freedom in it, and it was really cathartic, right? It was really good therapy for me to do that as well.
That's good. That's good. Now, shout out to Stephanie Wynn. She is actually the publisher of DC. Stephanie, go ahead and post the name of your business in the comment field. Now, if you're interested in writing your own story, make sure you reach out to Stephanie. Stephanie also made the comment. She says, his drive and the story has to be told in resilience. This is amazing, DC and Martinique. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for just sharing DC with us so we could definitely hear his story. So now, DC, what do you hope readers learn from reading your book?
What I hope people learn is resilience. The fact that in this whole thing of midlife, it's funny, I've been doing some Clubhouse rooms about navigating midlife. And I realize people, it might be illness like me, or it might be job changes, career changes. But people are interested in that journey through midlife, because the good news is if you get through midlife, you get to older age, right? So there's a reward. I hope people learn the resilience to face whatever rituals they take in midlife with that type of resilience, and with a little bit of humor as well. In the amputee community, and now since this time I've become a double amputee, because a lot of people who lose a lower limb due to some type of cardiovascular issue will lose a second limb afterwards within 5 years. And that happened to me. I actually lost within the second year. And within the amputee community, there's a big sense of humor, right? Jokes about being amputated and things of that nature, because you have to learn to laugh at yourself. You have to learn to laugh at some of your situations in life. And so learning through three things: resiliency, faith, and a sense of humor. That's what I hope people will get from my book. And many people who've read it, Martinique, have told me it's like a journey, right? You start on your high of going from a birthday party down to a low of being diagnosed with, kidney disease and diagnosed with an amputation. So it's that journey, and that's what life is for all of us, no matter what it is.
So now I know that you talked to us about your successful career. What does your career look like now that you are an amputee?
Yep. Well, once again, releasing this book these books are a big part of it. And my wife and I started a company in 2018, Courier Inc. It is a writing, training, coaching, speaking company. We have a emerging, I would say a boutique coaching business where we coach leaders in all lines of business, whether they be corporate leaders, HR professionals. We have a couple of corporate executives and a couple pastors that we're coaching as well. with communication and leadership. And I also train the color code personality assessment. Much like DISC and Myers-Briggs, the color code is a personality assessment. I train people. I use it in my coaching business, but also I use it to train webinars as well. I just did a webinar for a monolithic credit card company organization where I trained about 30 of their leaders in the color code. And it's an interactive webinar experience for team building and communication. So a combination of coaching, training, and speaking. And the goal is to continue to be able to tell my story well, share it with organizations. Like I would love to build a relationship with the Veterans Administration or ARP. And I've already built a relationship with the Amputee Coalition, which is a national organization, and another organization that deals with dialysis as well. So building strategic relationships with them to speak at their conferences, that's part of my goal as well.
Definitely. So now if you're interested in getting in contact with DC, you can definitely reach out to him on Instagram or Facebook. And those two links are listed in that description box as well. So let me ask you this. Could you no longer go back to the career that you were initially in when you were, a vendor with the company?
Yeah, the book talks about my experience of after going through some of those midlife trials, being let go of my job before all of this happened, before my illnesses, my amputation happened. I started with a group of two of my fraternity brothers. We started a company. Well, we joined the company and started our own company there. And some of the challenges we had putting it together. So, and then of course, with dialysis, going to dialysis 3 times a week, and with double amputation, very difficult to work outside of the home. So now starting this business from home, much more convenient to support myself that way.
Yeah. So now, what have you actually learned about yourself through your journey of becoming an author?
What I've learned about myself, that I enjoy sharing my story. I enjoy connecting with people. I've learned since the 2 amputations, I've also had a stroke. So I've had to learn how to think differently, how to arrange my, but I'm very fortunate because a lot of people become debilitated after their stroke. So I've had to learn to think differently. But I think I've learned I'm a lot more resilient than I thought I was.
Yeah.
Right. I've learned that the some of that desire to survive is not just stubbornness, but some of it is faith, right? Some of it is, I like to always say that I'm glad God didn't require the faith of an avocado seed. Yeah. Because I don't have that much faith. I just have the faith of a mustard seed, right? And I've learned I do have faith, and I do have the ability to laugh. And some of that is not just stubbornness, it is faith and resiliency. And I've come to that. And through writing my book and sharing my story, I've learned from some people that we all kind of have our thing, and everybody's kind of looking for that, that way of surviving, especially during the pandemic, Martinique. I mean, people have had a desire to talk, to share their story, to say what's going on with them. I've enjoyed getting to know them. I would love to have my legs back, but I wouldn't trade what I've learned since losing my legs.
Yeah. How did you learn to forgive yourself?
I have to learn that every day. I always say that some days my mistakes yell at me, and some days they whisper at me. And every day I have to remind myself, that all those things all those songs I sang in church, all those things I learned from growing up, they're still relevant. All my dreams are still relevant. All my dreams are I'm still that same person inside, even though I'm different outside. And I've earned a lot of that. I've earned a lot of that self-respect, a lot of the respect I have for myself. Recently I had a fall, and I had to teach myself how to walk all over again. I had to go to physical therapy to learn to walk again. And I could have once again decided to stay in a wheelchair, take a wheelchair to dialysis, take a wheelchair to my doctor's appointments. But like, it's like that feeling that you get when you get back up and you work at it again, it's quite a reward. I still really want my grandkids to say he lived a better life even after he had his amputations. Man,
Yeah.
I really want that for myself and want that for them.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I know that and some of our viewers, maybe never had to go through this experience of losing a limb or anything like that, but there's still different obstacles and struggles that come their way. What are practical things that you do to motivate yourself?
Well, at the beginning of with One Out Tools is an affirmation that I wrote several years ago that starts the book off. And I have these affirmations I tell myself, and it kind of goes like this, Martinique. I'm excited about what this day will bring. I'm well trained and highly motivated by the task at hand. Yesterday's problems are today's possibilities. Yesterday's obstacles are today's opportunities. I shall not fail. What I lack in skill, I will make up with enthusiasm. Victory is my destiny because I'm excited by what this day will bring.
That's good.
And I start off, when I speak, I start off my speech with that affirmation and a call and response to get some excitement and energy in the room. And I tell myself every now and then those affirmations. I also recite scripture to myself as well, right? So I use affirmations to get myself and keep myself motivated.
Now, was there ever conversations that you had with God to ask him, how in the world could you let this happen to me? And, how did you, after those conversations, how did you come to still have that relationship and that faith in God?
Yeah, it is, I think it's an ongoing conversation. As I said before, I don't want to pretend like I'm some base station of strength. I had to tell myself that, especially during the pandemic, I had to tell myself those things all the time. But, I had to really realize, number one, some of this was self-inflicted, right? It was a lifetime of bad habits. And even though I did work on my health, I did lose weight, I still, like you said before, the people who are thin who have problems with high blood pressure and have problems with diabetes. But you have to realize that the rain falls on the just and the unjust, right?
That's good.
And realizing that you have to play the game with the cards you dealt. The whole concept with the One Out Tools, right? Sometimes you have to do the job with the tools that you have left. And that's what I had to realize. And I have a friend of mine, Martinique, who lost his one leg around the same time I lost my leg, about the same time. And unfortunately, he is not doing as well. He's not up and moving around. He's really struggling. He doesn't have unfortunately, a wonderful wife to push him or these wonderful grandkids I have to push him. I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate with what I have left. And I have to play the game with the tools I have left.
I think one of the things that, that I'm learning as I'm approaching 40 in November, is like, I cannot be afraid to have to start over, because when I moved to Indiana for this IT job, I don't know anything about IT, but, my family is like, you need to just stay at this other job in Oklahoma. Right. But it's kind of like, why do I have to settle? Why do I have to settle for something that I'm not enjoying on a daily basis? Can you just speak to the individuals who are older, who are at a midlife, age, and encourage them and let them know why it's okay to start over if they need to?
That is an excellent question. And that seems to be the question a lot of people are asking. What I admire about, I'm going to sound like an old guy, the younger generation, is that you all don't settle, right? I have a couple of people a little bit younger than around your age who in my coaching clientele, And I admire the fact that they don't want to settle, right? I admire the fact that they have some bigger vision for themselves than what we maybe have for ourselves, and have a unique way of going about it. I guess what I've learned is that these rituals, even when you plan your best, even when you have the best plan and you have done everything well, these things happen, right? Whether it be health, whether it be job changes. I've watched so many people go through job changes, go through reductions in force, go through changes in companies, and what do they do? So, so deciding that you're going to make a change feels a lot better, right, than having that change happen to you, because the thing's going to happen. Things are going to happen, and I think with worn out tools really shows how you can do a lot of things. I had an education, I built a great career, and yet these things still happen, right?
Yeah.
And really working towards having that vision. Just because these things don't happen doesn't change the vision you have for your life.
That's good. That's good. I think the key word that we should take away from this show is just being resilient, because like you said, things happen regardless. If you just try to do everything perfect, life happens,
Right.
and we don't know how it's going to happen, but having that resiliency will help us to still move forward regardless of what happens in our life. So
Absolutely.
I definitely appreciate you, DC, for writing your book and really just encouraging us to continue on. I honestly got that visual of you being in dialysis and still typing, and your nurse is probably like, "What are you doing?" Like, I need you to focus.
They looked at me like I was crazy. Martinique, every time they ask me how you doing today, I would say excellent. And they get caught off guard, like, excellent. And I'm like, yeah, because if you think excellent thoughts, my big brother told me once, if you think excellent thoughts, you do excellent deeds. And if I think that way, at some point I'll feel that way. And that's when I was typing, I kept thinking, excellent thoughts, excellent deeds.
That's good. That's good. So I thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Authors to Know and Their Books to Read. DC, I do thank you again for just being on the show. And also make sure you go to that description box right there next to the $. You will see that Amazon link as well as that Barnes and Noble link, so you can purchase with worn out tools. Also, if you're interested in any of DC's coaching or writing classes or coaching that he does, as well as, he's a motivational speaker as well. If you're interested in utilizing any of Courier's Incorporated services, make sure you reach out to DC. Now, with authors, I'm telling you, they never just stop at writing 1 or 2 books. So you want to make sure that you follow DC on Instagram or even Facebook as well. Make sure you continue to share this broadcast so that more people will know about DC and his book with worn out tools. If you're interested in sharing your story here on the show, make sure you go all the way at the bottom and you can actually share your story on the show as well. Also, don't forget this. If you're interested in writing your own book, reach out to Stephanie. She is in the comment field as well. We hope that you guys have a great remainder of the night, and we will talk to you